we can use the macro in order to export information. So we have file object, and this very first command here, export data table, allows us to export data from a table into a file. You can export a table created by yourself or standard table from the business object which you have modified. For example, from the business object of banks, I'm going to get data table. Let's call it table 1. We need to get this table first and then export it. So I'm going to move this command up, and here in this export data table macro, we have export type parameter, and as you can see here, we can export data into Excel, XML, CSV, or TXT file. So we need to specify corresponding number in this parameter, and the next parameter here is file path and name, and we should specify the entire path and the final location of this file. Now let's export this table, for example, to Excel. So let's leave 0 in this parameter, and here I'm going to tell, for example, C drive test file. We can specify extension as well. Let's say XLSX extension. And we have these parameters here as well, where you should specify true or false depending on whether you want to export tables column names or not, and also whether you want to overwrite existing file and so on. Now let's execute these macro commands. We can see true here in this result field, which means that it has been exported, and as you can see here, this file is added to the root of C drive, and now we can see this table, the list of banks in Excel. Also, we can export this table as XML file, so we should specify 1 in this parameter and XML extension here. Let's run again. And now you can see this XML file here. We can open this file with Internet Explorer, where this information is displayed like this. We can also export this table as CSV file. So let's specify 2 in this parameter and CSV extension here. And now if we run, we can see this file here as well. Let's open it with Notepad, and you can see here column names with their types, and each of those records consists of field values which are separated by commas. And we have one more export type here. We can export as a TXT text file, where the exported field values are directly linked to each other. So we need 3 here and txt text file and this parameter. Let's run. And open with Notepad again. And as you can see here, this header part is similar to CSV file, but in each record, the field values are directly linked to each other like this. And also we can export data from a data set. In other words, we can put data from different tables into one data set. For example, let's take this list of banks table. We can get data from the chart of accounts table and also from the table of cash flow categories and merge them into one data set. Let's add the new data set, the dataset 1, and put all of those tables, the table 1, 2, and 3 into this data set. And now let's export this data set. Parameters and this macro are very similar to the parameters in export data table macro. So in order to export this dataset to Excel, we should specify a 0 in this export type parameter. And here I'm going to tell again C drive test dataset and XLSX extension. Let's copy paste this command and export to XML. So we should specify 1 here and XML and this parameter. And one more export type is type 2 export to CSV. We can't export the dataset into txt text file. So now let's run. And you can see all of them, all 3 files here. This is CSV file. We can open it with Notepad. There is a first table with its values. We have the second table and then the third table. At the end, there is Excel file as well. We have 3 spreadsheets here, 1 spreadsheet for each table, and also we have XML file here, and you can see the first table, the second table, and the third table here as well. So in this way, you can put data from different tables into one data set and then export this data set into different files.